spooky season has begun at the Retro Video Store.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Store podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host, Neil.
I'm Neil. And who is now our living proof that all that bullshit when you get shot in the shoulder in a movie and you're able to run around and do all kinds of things? Who is our living example that that shit really does hurt?
That would be David. David sent us a text saying he felt awful after his shoulder surgery and was still continuing to feel awful, and he was going to sit this one out. So at this point, David's more of a legend than he is a real guest.
David, man, that picture he sent was no joke.
It's pretty gnarly.
And they stapled it too. I mean, I've had a couple shoulder surgeries myself, and they always stitched them. Mm-hmm. I've not seen them with staples. That was gnarly as hell.
Yeah, that did not look fun at all. That was from Frontier Medicine there.
Just want to hear him doing it like.
Ugh. No, not fun. So, David, hopefully you recover soon and get better. And hope it's going to be kind of shitty because you'll miss most of spooky season and then head right into Turkey Month where the suffering really begins.
No, he's got enough suffering right now. Maybe we should do something other than Turkey Month for the poor guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking about Turkey. I'm sort of waffling on Turkey Month just because the stuff that we have lined up is pretty scary.
Dude, chicken and waffles is amazing. Turkey and waffles. If you wanted to waffle on turkey, I would be down to try that. I deep fry my turkeys, so I can imagine that would be delicious.
But that sounds pretty good. Yeah.
Turkey and waffle. You know, this may be a new Thanksgiving tradition. I've done that. Actually take the stuffing and then put it in a waffle maker.
That sounds damn good. I've heard people do that. That sounds like a good.
It makes for the most amazing turkey sandwiches after the big meal. I did them with waffles.
Do you guys have Capriati sandwiches? They have like the Thanksgiving sandwich where it's got the stuffing and the turkey and the cranberries and all that kind of stuff in it. It's pretty good.
No, I've never been to a Capriati's. We don't have those here in the Bay. Maybe, but I've never seen one. I tell you, it's a win-win. Just save some of that stuffing, put it in the old waffle maker, and then go to town. So good.
We're in the middle of spooky season. Actually, this is going to be the second to last movie of spooky season. And since November 2nd is part of the Halloween week, we're going to do an extra spooky episode beyond this one. But today, we're doing Sleepy Hollow from 1999, which is a very, very atmospheric, perfect for the Halloween season movie. Got that very good atmosphere.
Tim Burton making an atmospheric kind of Halloween-y film.
Yeah.
I'm surprised and wonderfully surprised at that.
Yeah. But before we jump into Sleepy Hollow, let's do what we always do. Neil, I know you've had a very hectic week. We were just talking about it before we started recording. Did you get to watch anything this week?
I did. But I watched, it was carbohydrate watching is what it was. So I watched all three of the original Star Wars films.
That is freaking coincidental because I too watched Star Wars. So I figured we would probably talk some Star Wars today since that was one of the movies I came home and it was on TNT. I fell asleep. I started watching A New Hope and then I was getting into it. Then I started watching The Empire Strikes Back and got into that. And I was just, man, those are freaking good movies. Those are really, really good movies. And so it made me, ties in a little bit to Halloween season because I can say that I was Darth Vader for several Halloweens as a child from I was like 7, 8, 9 years old. Those were all Darth Vader years, I think.
I sent you the meme for Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah.
Arturito. Yeah. That's exactly where we go. I'm just going to preface, it was a horrible week. I got sick. I was throwing up. And then I got called in for jury duty. I had to go back in twice. I have to go back in again next week. It's going to be a long ass trial if I get chosen, but it is a murder trial. So when it's all over with, I could have some stories. So anyway, I watched that and I watched The Menu. because that movie always makes me laugh. I love the comedy in it. I know that's not what it's about, but the comedy in it takes it over the edge for me. And then Ready or Not.
I have wanted to see Ready or Not, but I have not yet. I've heard that's good though.
It's good. It's good. I mean, you like to look up what happens at the end of movies. I watched.
Oh yeah, I spoil the shit out of those for me.
Oh yeah, I watched it in the movie theater, and when it actually turns out that they had made a deal with the devil and they all start exploding, fucking hilarious. So hilarious. There's a scene where two little kids, little shitty bratty kids, blow up. If you don't laugh, I don't know. I don't know who you are as a person. Yeah, I watched that, and then I watched a lot of YouTube. Tons and tons.
Yeah, so did I. Watched a bunch of YouTube all about the legend of Sleepy Hollow and folk tales and Washington Irving and Sleepy Hollow, New York. I just kind of jumped into that kind of Halloween spirit. No pun intended. Let's talk a little bit about Star Wars, though. I think The Empire Strikes Back is a perfect movie. It is so good. I just can't believe that everything afterwards has been such a low compared to The Empire Strikes Back.
I would say The Mandalorian, not especially the first season of it, if that would have been a movie, would have been right up there with it. But The Empire Strikes Back, the tension, I mean, we were kids, right? But the tension watching it, especially on Hoth, when they're going through those grainy binoculars, and then all of a sudden you see those AT-ATs for the first time.
Yes. For
the first time. That fucking blew my mind.
I know. They're like Imperial Walkers. I'm like, what the fuck are Imperial Walkers?
What the hell's an Imperial Walker? And then you see the AT-STs walking like awkward little flamingos in the back. And I remember everyone laughing when they saw those. And then in later movies, they're like, oh no, these things are hardcore. You don't want to mess with one of those things.
Except for when they get crushed by two pieces of wood. Lumber.
Two pieces of lumber coming together.
Pieces of wood coming together, smashing them with the little teddy bears running around, setting traps left and right.
So
I wonder how bad Endor smelled like burnt fur.
You got Ewok shit all over the place. Little guys are up in the trees, dropping little Ewok bombs all over the place. Unless they got a lot of fiber, they're like little pellets and stuff. Very dense foliage.
So is it the forest moon of Endor? So it is a moon, or is Endor the name of the forest moon?
So in the games and all the other stuff, they always reference it as the Battle of Endor.
Okay.
So I'm thinking
there is that one Battlefront game, which is pretty funny, where you're on Endor and you're like this lone stormtrooper, and you can fucking hear the Ewoks in the background, and they're all coming at you and stuff like that. And that was funny. It was scary. I never was so scared of teddy bears, but
en masse, they gotta be a lot to deal with. Oh, and that's the other thing I did. I settled in and started playing Outlaws, Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I never thought I would. I didn't think I would enjoy it, but now I'm probably a good 15, 20 hours into it just because I haven't been to work much because I felt so shitty. But oddly enough, not shitty enough that the court would say, don't come in for fucking jury duty. And it's like Grand Theft Auto, but Star Wars.
Oh, really interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty entertaining. So, all right. So you watched YouTube, you watched Star Wars. Where else did we go in your cinema journey this week?
I really didn't watch any other movies because there was a shitload of college football on, and I would watched a lot of college football. I did watch some, AMC Fear Fest is on, and there's a lot of scary movies that are on random channels. So it's kind of nice to go in and out of Christine on IFC or the Sundance Channel, or then watch a little bit of Friday the 13th one day, then watch a little bit of Carrie, and then they've been showing a lot of the Stephen King movies that I haven't seen in a while, like Thinner. I haven't seen Thinner in forever, and I forgot that he has to put the curse in a pie and have somebody eat a piece of the pie to pass on the curse. I totally forgot about that part in Thinner, which is kind of an underseen Stephen King movie.
Thinner.
Oh, rub your face.
And I forgot the most important thing I watched because I was texting you photos of it. I found that entire Slayer concert on that.
Slayer concert. Yeah,
that random music channel on my Roku. When I was sitting at, because I was feeling like shit when I texted you, and that brought me some joy.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'll bust out my Slayer T-shirt that I bought at their last ever concert that they played.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, collector's item. That's the only thing I'm going to hang on to that.
But let's talk about Sleepy Hollow. I figure this will kind of also double as our Halloween episode because we'll just talk. Sleepy Hollow is a fun movie, but it's not really. I think it's overplotted in the sense that you just wanted to see the Headless Horseman behead some people, and they try to create this conspiracy mystery thing out of it, which I didn't really find compelling because all the English people look the same to me. So I didn't realize who's that? Who's what?
Dude,
what was that person?
Palpatine was in this.
Yeah, man. About every major English British actor was in this movie.
It. Mm-hmm. I will say, I had grapes. I really, really don't like Johnny Depp's like semi Sherlock Holmesy take on the character.
Yeah.
I found that annoying. It really got in the way of the ambience of the movie and the ambiance and just the no fucking chill beheadings. Those beheadings just out there, man. Just like, oh, you're here for a second. Horseman shows up. Boom. Take your head right off. No chill whatsoever. Standing 1 second, head on the ground the next.
Awesome. Do you want to hit us with the Internet Movie Database tagline?
Ichabod Crane is sent to Sleepy Hollow to investigate the decapitations of 3 people. Then he arrives and a whole butt-ton more people get decapitated.
Yes.
I added that part. The culprit is legendary apparition, the Headless Horseman. At what point in the movie do you think they should have just looked at Ichabod and say, dude, get the fuck out? We had 3 people dead, and now there's like 400 ever since you showed up. Get out.
Yes. This, of course, is directed by Tim Burton. Very Burton-y. And he was coming off, they were developing his Superman movie, which I think it was called Superman Lives, which got totally derailed by production issues in long-haired Nicolas Cage in glow-in-the-dark suits and things like that went into production hell. So he got off the failed production of that and jumped onto this movie. And the screenplay is by Andrew Kevin Walker. And he wrote Seven, that is his claim to fame, mostly, which I think Seven is pretty damn awesome. We haven't done Seven, have we? On the podcast?
No.
We need to do that eventually. It's a good one. Talk about atmosphere. Every
time there is an Amazon order at my house, Seven is referenced.
What's in the box? Yeah. Based on The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. Budget of $70 million to $100 million. $207 million at the box office. Released November 19th of 1999. And, of course, music by Danny Elfman. Because Tim Burton and Danny Elfman they're like the chocolate to the peanut butter of the Reese's of this movie.
Washington Irving sounds like his name is backwards.
Well, Irving Washington sounds somebody who plays for the Sixers or something.
Oh, well. I would love to see somebody dunk on the Horseman. That would be pretty badass.
So going back to this and Halloween, I remember as kids, I mean, and this is kind of this is the old man moment where Halloween was so much more celebrated in the 70s and 80s as kids because schools still celebrated it. You could still come dressed at school. And I remember distinctly watching The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad in school, in grade school, where everybody would sit down in the gym, crisscross applesauce, and they would pull out the big screen and pull it down and have the film projector, and we would watch The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
They did it at my kids' school. They watched. They read it. They watched it. They have. They would do a parade where all the kids in costumes would do like a parade, and we would get off work just to go watch that because I would make artsy fartsy and I would make the costumes and things like that.
Andrew School has a fall festival, but it's not necessarily. It's like it's the neutered version of the Halloween time is they have the fall festival.
Well,
in order not to offend anybody,
because you got him in a charter school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've denied him that. You've denied the chaos that is public education.
Exactly. True. So I included a GIF of the Headless Horseman throwing the pumpkin in the iconic 1949 Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. And I watched that today, and I will say, in all honesty, that it has not aged well in the sense that it takes a long damn time to get to the good stuff. You get a lot of singing.
Tons.
Lots of dancing and singing. And I forget who's the name of the famous, is it Bing Crosby?
Yeah.
Who did the singing for the...
And that's when that groovy cat Ichabod decided to go for a horse ride. Shut up.
That's exactly like that, though. And he saw Katrina Van Tassel's ample bosom. Yeah. But like you said, they made Johnny Depp's Ichabod Crane into a constable from New York City to go to upstate New York to solve the mysteries, which kind of adds a little spin on it. But I prefer Ichabod as a kind of a dorky schoolmaster, kind of pulled into this weird love triangle with the Van Tassel and the hunky guy.
Brom Bones,
yes. There was a version of I included. Thank you for putting that picture of Jeff Goldblum, the 1980 movie of Jeff Goldblum as Ichabod Crane. And I remember as a kid, this scared the shit out of me because there was a scene where the Headless Horseman's origin, and you see the Headless Horseman's head get blown off by a cannonball.
Nice.
And that was always scary. I don't
remember that happening though.
I'm not sure if it was this one specifically or was it like some other show about the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, but I just remember the guy had like a sword and he was going out, and then all of a sudden you see the cannon shoot and you don't see his head blow off, but you see a guy like, oh, no head. No. Yeah. He did. Jeff Goldblum is an Ichabod Crane looking person, especially young Jeff Goldblum. I think he's one of those people who gets more handsome with age, Jeff Goldblum, versus, early Jeff Goldblum looks a little more gangly.
Well, and this is before everything he said he had to physically touch his words as he was saying them.
Yeah. Speaking of cast, we've got Johnny Depp as Ichabod Crane, Christina Ricci, 19-year-old Christina Ricci as Katrina Van Tassel, Miranda Richardson is Lady Mary Van Tassel, Michael Gambon is Baltus Van Tassel, Dumbledore, Casper Van Dien is Brom Van Brunt. Casper Van Dien sighting, by the way. That's coming fresh off of Starship Troopers.
Coming off his second movie or whatever that is now.
Yeah. Jeffrey Jones, who's a pedophile. Pervert, yeah, but he's also previous to this, a regular in in Tim Burton's movies. And you have Michael Gough as the notary. And then Lisa Marie is who was currently at that moment was Tim Burton's girlfriend, and she was in the flashbacks as Ichabod's mother. And do you think that Tim Burton has a type when it comes to ladies?
100%. 100%.
It was with Lisa Marie, who was also in Mars Attacks as the lead voluptuous Martian. And he was with Helena Bonham Carter for a long, long time. And now he's with Monica Bellucci. So he's got a thing for raven-haired, witchy-looking women. That's not a bad thing at all, though, That's Tim Burton-esque. Ray Park and Christopher Walken both were the Headless Horseman. I thought it was cool as Ray Park, because of course his Darth Maul was you can tell he had a lot of that physical kind of looked badass when he was doing his stuff.
He moved good.
Yeah, he moved good. That's exactly good way to put it. Had a very
athletic. He had good moving.
Mm-hmm. And Christopher Walken, he's the Hessian.
And I'll be damned if they're going to take my head. So I put my head, the only place those bastards couldn't take it from me, in the ground.
In the ass of this tree.
By the tree. It's like the tree has an orifice that bleeds like a tree vagina. And that's where my head was. The tree gives birth to me. It's kind of gross.
It's pretty disgusting. Who's got my head? Why is this lady controlling me? The special effects in this movie are pretty damn good. There was like a little sketchy CGI with the witch and stuff like that, but as far as like everything else, it won an Oscar for set design, which obviously it was the production values were top notch in British film studios, so everything was done on sets except for some exteriors, but it looked really, really good, atmospheric. And Kevin Yeager was the responsible for the special effects, and he was one of the original designers of Freddy. So he's got a lot of
that guy's a meister when it comes to special effects, Mr. Yeager.
Yeah, Yeager, Meister. Hold on. There you go.
Thank you. I managed to reference the worst alcohol ever produced by mankind.
So, Yeager Productions, Nightmare on Elm Street, 2, 3, Dream Warriors, Dream Master, Face Off, Starship Troopers, Tales from the Crypt, Child's Play. Damn. This guy's got some, he's got some, The Dentist, Rumpelstiltskin. Remember that scary movie with Rumpelstiltskin, 1996? I love the box art, and it's just kind of, it says Rumpelstiltskin when the fairy tale ends, the nightmare begins, and you can kind of see his face coming around like around the door or something like that. It was pretty awesome. Child's Play 2, The Phantom of the Opera. Yeah, he's responsible for a lot of cool stuff. Definitely, the special effects make this movie really stand out. And I think I love practical effects. I love, they're cutting into the trees and the blood spurting in his face and stuff.
And making the same. Okay, but this is, after seeing this, I used to think Johnny Depp was a great actor. Used to think he was a good actor. But after seeing this, how much of that is recycled in so many of his other parts. I was thinking, oh, that guy's a good actor. And then I watched him and I'm like, that is the face Captain Jack Sparrow would make if he was getting sprayed with blood while he was trying to figure out what she did with the rum.
Yeah, I felt like there was a lot of crossover between Jack Sparrow and Ichabod Crane, that kind of like, I don't know, Poncy, scaredy catness, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was kind of, there's some similarities to it. Want to hit us with a critical consensus?
All right. Rotten Tomatoes says that 70% of critics gave Sleepy Hollow a positive review. That's based on 123 reviews with an average rating of 6.3 of 10. That's a lot of reviews for Rotten Tomatoes. That's good. The site's critic consensus states, it isn't Tim Burton's best work, but Sleepy Hollow entertains with its stunning visuals and creepy atmosphere. Metacritic gives the film a weighted average score of 65 of 100 based on 35 reviews, and that is from mainstream critics. It is considered to be generally favorable. Audiences, polled by CinemaScore, gave the film an average grade of B- on an A+ to F scale. A little bit low.
Yeah, it is weird to me that they scored it so low, because it's entertaining.
Yeah. Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars out of 4 and said this is the best looking horror film since Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. I have crossed oceans of time to solve these beheadings. He praised Johnny Depp's performance and Tim Burton's methods of visual design. Johnny Depp is an actor to disappear into characters, Ebert continued, never more readily than in one of Burton's films. Richard Corliss wrote in his review for Time, Burton's richest, prettiest, weirdest film since Batman Returns. The simple story bends to his twists, freeing him for an exercise in high style. David Sterrett of the Christian Science Monitor, Chicago Science Monitor. What the fuck was that? Gave praise to filmmaking and the high-spirited acting of the cast, but believed Andrew Kevin Walker's writing was too repetitious and formulaic for the third act. Owen Gleiberman from Entertainment Weekly wrote, Sleepy Hollow is a choppily plotted crowd pleaser that lacks the seductive freakazoid alchemy of Burton's best work. Then he was not paying attention. Gleiberman compared the film to The Mummy and said it feels like every high-powered action climax of the last 10 years. Personally, I'd rather see Burton so intoxicated by a movie that he has lost his head. Andrew Johnson of Time Out New York wrote, like the best of Burton's films, Sleepy Hollow takes place in a world so richly imagined that despite its abundant terrors, you can't help wanting to step through the screen. Mick LaSalle, writing in the San Francisco Chronicle, criticized Burton's perceived image as a creative artist. All Sleepy Hollow has going for it is its art direction, and even in that, it falls back on cliche. Jonathan Rosenbaum from the Chicago Reader called Sleepy Hollow a ravishing visual. Well, I'm going to talk about Mick LaSalle. That'd be like Mick LaSalle picking up a Stephen King book and saying, like, it's a horror novel. Hasn't he written horror novels before? Oh, it's so cliche, he wrote a horror novel. It's a Tim Burton movie, you jackass. Jonathan Rosenbaum from the Chicago Reader called Sleepy Hollow a ravishing visual experience, a pretty good vehicle for some talented American and English actors. Yeah, just some random English actors. We don't who are those clowns? But concluded that the film was a missed opportunity to depict an actual representation of the short story. Burton's fidelity is exclusively to the period feels he gets from disreputable Hammer horror films and a few images culled from Ichabod and Mr. Toad. When it comes to one of America's great stories, Burton obviously couldn't care less.
How dare he call Hammer horror movies disreputable? I love me some Hammer horror movies.
See, that's the thing, though. I think with this movie, we're not getting that. We are literally getting when Tim Burton reads or hears the story the way exactly how he would have wanted it to be. Like, okay, I like this because, we've probably done it a million times. Like, oh, Star Wars, but you know what I would have changed? Oh, here's this, but you know what I would have done differently? And he got a hold of it and he made it a Tim Burton thing. I think it needs to be one of those things like inspired by the story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Yes.
Not a direct, not a direct interpretation. I don't want it shot by something like that. I don't want shot by shot. Like Dune. Yes. Something like that I do. But for this, it's reading it and being creeped out when you read it. It's never going to translate the same way visually for everybody.
Well, I think the story is so simple, and even if you watch the the Disney one, it's just basically the central pull is that Katrina, the headmasters or the mayor or whatever of the towns is her daughter, and then everybody wants to win. Wants to win her hand, and there's it's a contest between Ichabod and Brom and then he tells him the scary story, and that night he meets the headless horseman, and then he's never seen again. I mean, it's pretty simple, so I think you kind of have to flesh it out a little bit, and maybe the mystery is kind of sewn onto it, but it at least gives you an excuse to have more people's heads cut off. You know what I've always wanted to do is to write a letter and seal it with a candle. Red candle with my own seal. I've always wanted to do that, but obviously, who writes letters anymore? But man, there's a lot of scenes in movies with people, sealing, a letter with their little personal imprint.
So what you're saying to me is, a loving wife, a healthy, intelligent, well-mannered, polite son. A fulfilling career that's going to provide your retirement well into your waning years. But you know what? Fuck that. I have not yet had a melted wax letter. That's where the line is drawn for you.
It is really. It's badass. I want somebody on a horse to come in and send me a letter with a wax imprint.
I have
pull it and the things,
I have a Japanese chop. I had one made for me before I retired from the martial arts when my last trip to Japan. I got one of those. But that's just like a little personal stamp you put on stuff. So rather than having to do your signature, there's got to be a place to get those still. There's got to be some weird shop on Etsy. I'm Cersei Nightshade and I make wax seals.
From your goth supply store.
Yeah, there's got to be from your local goth supply store. All your favorite ritual candles.
Eye of Newton. What is that in The Simpsons Halloween? One of the Treehouse of Horrors when Patty and Selma are witches, and she just keeps adding more Eye of Newt. It's like everything you put in is just going to be Newt eyes. I don't know. So Martin Landau's in this very, very, very briefly as one of the first people to get decapitated. Him and his carriage driver. One thing I liked is that the movie is dark, like literally dark, but it's not shot so dark that it becomes unwatchable.
It's not Hellraiser dark.
Yeah, not Hellraiser dark or Game of Thrones dark. There seems to be a lot of really dark cinematography lately where it's almost impossible. Everything is obscured by the darkness, where this was dark enough, but also you could see what the hell was going on.
Dark is a great tool if it frames your character and then all of a sudden like pops out like a stark white mask and a gleaming blade.
Mm-hmm.
Got some shit hiding out there in the dark. that's when it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think Game of Thrones was dark?
There was a specific battle that everybody complained that you could not see what the hell was going on near the end of the seasons. That literally, it was like people were calling HBO and saying it was too damn dark.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to take your word. I don't remember it. I'll have to take your word for it.
I did like some of this pumpkins on the scarecrows looked very, Jack Skellington-esque as they went out into the, the first decapitation. Ichabod Crane is in New York, and he's a constable, but he's so ahead of everybody else with his forensic and reason-based inspections or deducing things.
We must question this man.
I did like Christopher Lee is in this movie, so big ups for that. Christopher Lee was also in the Willy Wonka movie, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where he was the mean dentist dad for
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anything with Christopher Lee just makes, it's automatically better. So American Zoetrope, Francis Ford Coppola's producer. Katrina Van Tassel, we see her at the beginning. Blonde Christina Ricci, which is different than where mostly used to seeing her.
It looked weird because she looked like, those girls, I'd say like really early 90s that would dye their hair and shave their eyebrows off.
Yeah.
And that's what she looked like to me. Because maybe I just couldn't pick up the contrast, but to me it looked like she had no eyebrows, and I found it very, very distracting.
That was a trend in the late 90s, early 2000s, where girls would shave their eyebrows, or they would just pencil them in, or even get them tattooed.
Yeah,
it was unsettling. Now it's bushy eyebrows we're in. Yeah, I love the flashback tale when they talk about the Headless Horseman and he's just killing people left and right, and his Christopher Walken's hair is all wild, and his teeth are all sharp, and his eyes are all fucked up.
And then we know what doesn't work. Shh.
Yeah, because one of the girls breaks the branches, and they know where he's at, and they kill him. I think that was a really good look for the Headless Horseman while he had a head. Christopher Walken is an awesome actor. We always talk about him, and he's good in whatever he's in.
He reminded me of the Heat Miser. Was it the Heat Miser?
Yeah, on the Christmas animated Rankin and Bass movies. Yeah,
reminded me of the Heat Miser.
I'm Mr. Heatmeister or whatever.
Yeah.
I like the steampunk kind of goggles and other things that Ichabod has. I'm sure somebody's recreated those. Steampunk was a big thing for a while, and I think it's kind of faded away.
I still see it once a year, and it's the weirdest damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
We play at a Highland gathering, and it's all supposed to be about music and Highland food and stuff like that. And I guess to help pay for it, they always set up a bit like for all the LARPy Renaissance people. And there'll always be some nitwit walking through. We have just like probably a 50-yard area by 50-yard area packed with tents and bagpipers. And everyone's in there practicing and tuning up. And then there'll be some guy wandering around in a kilt with like a big fucked up top hat and weird gears and shit on everything. And it's like, could you just promptly fuck off? Off you fuck, like that direction. Or the guys walking around. Yep, sorry, looking like from that. They want to be in that show Highlander, not the good Highlander, the one with Christopher Lambert, but the Highlander where is it the girl travels in time?
What was the name of the guy in the Highlander TV show that was on for such a long time?
Duncan MacLeod.
But who was the actor? I have to look it up.
Adrian Paul.
Yes, man, you're good. You pulled that out of your ass. That was a good one.
Thank you. Paul. I knew that one. Well, it's like I've spent a certain amount of my life studying Japanese martial arts and the sword, so I would always tune in to watch it and go like, fuck, that's horrible. It just was my favorite thing to be a grumpy old man with.
And maybe this is sexist.
Probably.
You get to decide. Is I find ladies that are into the Ren Fair aesthetic attractive.
It's because of the boobies. It's because they got their boobs hanging out.
But the dudes who are into it are just douches.
Chin beards and the wispiest, worst fucking hair, and they all look as soft as butter that's been on the counter for a week.
Yeah, just it's something about that aesthetic I just do not like. Cleavage.
Cleavage you do like. If you're ever out here and that is happening, I want you to come out because I play bagpipes with a bunch of old grouchy ass like former Marines, and the shit talk is hilarious because they give no F's. They will say anything to anybody at any time. Mm-hmm. Like they still haven't left the war. They're prepared to die. They're ready to tell you just exactly what's on their mind. It's so much fun.
There is a huge Renaissance fair in Larkspur, Colorado, which is maybe 30 minutes north of where I live. And we've gone a couple of times, but it is rampant full of those kind of, some guys always got to dress up like he's Jack Sparrow and walk around. And some other guys got like, they have like this borderline furry dragon costumes that are like leather looking, you know?
Oh yeah, man. Thanks for bringing that image into my head.
But you know, it's like, in the middle of July in hot Colorado weather, walking around with those stupid costumes on. Yeah.
It just sounds gross. It just sounds gross.
Celtic tattoos and things like that. Yeah.
Celtic what?
I see your skull.
Well, have you? Yeah, no, dude, that's my Celtic calavera right there. Look at that. Yeah. That's
but you designed it yourself, so you get credit for that.
Well, yeah, I do that myself. I'm holding it down for New Mexico and my Celtic heritage as well. Yeah. Yo hecho en Nuevo Mexico, puto.
Speaking of New Mexico, I sent Neil this Instagram reel of this guy going to there's this New Mexican restaurant called Barella's Coffee's House on 4th Street in Albuquerque, and there was a video of this guy ordering menudo and some chicharrones,
dude,
with red chili and beans.
Respect for how good that tortilla looked too.
Yeah,
man.
the tortilla looked amazing, but I love chicharrones, and it's hard to get them for real. We used to go to Garcia's, and they always you could get a chicharrone burrito, and it's just pork fried crispy, but there's just a little bit of the meat on it, but it's fried crispy, and they put it with beans and red chili. Oh my god, that's the greatest thing ever! And there's a Mexican restaurant in Denver that makes chicharrone burritos, and I think we're going to go up there on Tuesday and eat just because I need me some Mexican food, some really good Mexican food.
Pictures. I've got tons of Mexican food here. I just don't have new Mexican food out here.
Mm-hmm. But Neil sent me a comment that he's been watching that reel like it was porn because it does.
It's in my food spank bank. Honestly,
it is so good. I know.
I had some people at work like, dude, put your phone away, and I'm like, no, look at this, and they looked at it like, oh my god, that looks so good. I'm like,
I know.
My friend is a total bastard, and he sent this to me because I've eaten there, and I'm pretty sure you've eaten there too.
Yes, and there's just something about. Just they get a bowl of chicharrones and you get some beans with red chili and a fresh tortilla. Bam, heaven.
Yeah, especially when it's crispy too, because then you get like the crispy and it soaks in just a little bit, and you get the little bit of give. Oh,
yes.
And then you walk around the rest of the day and you got pork, pork fibers stuck in between your teeth. You're sitting there like the whole rest of the day going, that was delicious.
Yeah, keeps on giving. Good. That is what we call a digression, but
we went from decapitations to New Mexican food.
I don't know how we got there. Okay, so we talked about steampunk, Renaissance fairs, New Mexican food, and now we're back to the movie. They did a good job of recreating the pumpkin throw from the animated movie, where Casper Van Dien's character Brom is pretending to be the headless horseman, and he throws the flaming pumpkin at Ichabod. And of course, Ichabod has these weird flashback sort of dreams where his mom, played by Lisa Marie, is a witch or into that, witchery, and she gets put into the Iron Maiden and dies, and he gets the scars on his hands from touching the torture implementation. This has a little bit of crossover with that feeling from the movie The Witch, that kind of like, I love that kind of I like a witchy lady,
Jamie, are you hearing this?
Oh, she knows.
I'm not a witch. I'm your wife. You get what I did?
Nice callback there. Nice callback.
We're on a podcast that we talk about movies, and I referenced another movie. Yeah.
So yes, there's all sorts of things going on. There's a conspiracy with over the land and who owns pretty much this, the Sleepy Hollow, and it's written like you care about it, but you really don't until it's explained. I didn't really care about it. Once it was explained, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, I can see that, but I didn't really feel compelled to know what was going on. I just wanted to see some grody decapitations with really good life casted, head red recreations.
Yeah,
those were good. Kevin Yeager did a hell of a job.
And just I love how, like, 1 second you've got somebody going, you know what? I listened to this guy talk about this Instagram reel called Barella's, and then boom, and then off goes the head. Just no chill. Just no messing around. Just walk up, boom, off goes the head. Sometimes people put up a little bit of a fight, but the head's still coming off.
I love the part where the guy gets his head cut off and it rolls in between Ichabod's legs, and the headless horseman just pierces it with the sword and walks off it. So he probably just stabbed through the top of the head. That was probably pretty grody. Yeah, the way the heads spin when they get cut off, and there's some really good special effects in this movie. And really, I think what the movie has most going for it is the atmosphere, the special effects, and some good actors doing their thing. Miranda Richardson is really good, and Ian McDiarmid and Michael Gough, and you got all sorts of people doing their thing, and it's fun. I did like the fight between Brom and the Headless Horseman. The way he just got cut in half was pretty brutal. And I was like, man, this movie is pretty bloody. This is good.
Even after watching, I still don't consider this movie very bloody because it was also quick. It wasn't drawn out. It wasn't drawn out gore.
Yeah, it was gory, but it was in a done in a way where you can see it, but it wasn't too gratuitous, but just enough. I did like when the carriage chase has all the typical like Western kind of stunts where you're hanging off the back of the carriage and you're trying to get back up and all that kind of stuff. It's done pretty well. Once they figure out the end, and of course,
wait, can we We'll talk about the carriage chase. I do think it was a pretty good homage to the cartoon. He gets thrown off and he's rocking on the horse backwards. When he's riding on.
Yes, that was definitely a good homage to the cartoon. Yeah,
that I appreciated. And that guy who's talking about the source material and not paying attention to it can once again go fuck himself.
Yeah. Yep. And they kind of did a good job of kind of figuring out like who is Katrina loyal to. She's still trying to protect her father, but instead of, you think that she's witching Ichabod, but she's actually trying to cast spells of protection in her witchy ways. And I like when they were in the church, and the horseman's outside of the church, but he can't get on the hallowed grounds, and he pulls that guy through the through the window with the stake. That was pretty cool.
Every time you say that, I'm sorry, I'm so distracted. Every time you say that, all I can think of it in my head, I keep hearing those same lyrics over and over and over again. Ooh, witchy woman. Just every time you say, sorry. I was going to another concert in my head.
So a lot of movies end with windmill kind of finales, like the Frankenstein-esque, windmill thing. Even Frankenweenie had a windmill scene where the windmill's on fire and stuff like that. They go back to it again with this one. And then I love it when the horseman gets his head back and the way the flesh and stuff kind of renders on it. And then his face freaks out just a little bit. The eyes kind of pop out and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. And he bites Miranda Richardson's lips and then carries her off into hell.
Yeah, that's overly aggressive technique, man. That is.
Yeah. But, I knew this would probably we would talk about Sleepy Hollow pretty quickly. So I added a few little things in the spirit of Halloween of the list of best Halloween specials. One in particular that I would like to talk about is, you probably remember it as well as I do, is the Paul Lynde Halloween special from 1976.
Oh my God. I would. Oh my God. It brings back so many vivid images to me.
And I barely remember this because it came on when I was 3, so I must have seen a couple of reruns through the years to distinctly remember it. But it was the variety shows were so popular in the 70s. I mean, you really don't. I know there's singing shows and talent shows and all that kind of shit on TV shows now, but variety shows were very popular. And Paul Lynde was always the center square on Hollywood Squares, and he would give you the most kind of innuendo-filled answers. And he was on Bewitched and a couple of other things. So he was a character, and he was gay, probably the first gay person people were familiar with. And when you're young, he's just festive. What's up with Paul Lynde?
Always dressed so nicely, and he's always so eloquent. I know they had to have replayed this because I remember seeing this. When I think, because my mom was my kindergarten teacher, and I remember at about that time. So it had to be like mid late 70s. I remember this shit.
So it's got 2 witches, Margaret Hamilton playing the Wicked Witch of the West, but also has Witchy Poo from H.R. Pufnstuf, which was a nightmare-inducing psychedelic TV show from our youth in the 70s.
That talking flute, man.
Yeah, Freddie the Flute. Oh my God. Yeah, that was crazy. But it also had Tim Conway, Billy Barty, Betty White, Donnie and Marie, and of course, Kiss performed 2 songs on the Paul Lynde Halloween special. And it is just hilarious and bizarre. And it's just one of they performed Detroit Rock City, I think, Hotter Than Hell, I think, were the 2 songs that Kiss performed. They did Beth and King of the Nighttime World. Okay, not Hotter Than Hell. Wow, King of the Nighttime World, that's a good Kiss song. I'm the king of the nighttime world.
Yeah, your Kiss knowledge, your Kiss library in your head's probably a whole lot deeper than mine.
Oh, yeah. And then, well, obviously, back in the 70s, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park was another Halloween era special back in the day. Amazing. The stuff that you would see on TV as a kid.
Can I tell you the best part? Wait, we glossed over the best part of the movie, which was the windmill exploding.
Mm-hmm.
We glossed over that. That let me take my son with a small bag of flour and a little bit of kerosene and a lighter to show him what happens when that powder and that stuff mixes in the air. That led to a learning. That led to some science in my household.
I remember on Mythbusters where they did like powderized, what is it, coffee creamer, and how it got in the air and it would create a huge flare-up type of explosion. Yeah. So that's not too far off. I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, we used to do that when I was when I was going to school in Texas. When I was skydiving, we used to take those with us and then try to drop them and get them to explode in like a little target we set up. But don't do that, kids. That's dangerous and bad. Don't do it. But I just wanted to bring that up because my son was like, why would that explode? That's so stupid. Let me tell you something. Here's where I failed you, letting you grow up in a large city and not out in the sticks where you could burn shit.
Oh yeah, we would blow shit up all the time. That was half our childhoods, was blowing up your old GI Joes and then taking all your black powder from your black cats and making a gigantic explosion.
And then you went down and you ate dinner that night with all 10 fingers still attached because your mom didn't raise an idiot.
Well, I'm sort of an idiot because I blew my thumbnail off with a black cat or one of those bigger. It was sort of bigger than a black cat, but it wasn't like an M80. But I was screwing around with it, holding it along to see how long I could hold on before I could let go of it, and blew my thumbnail loose and eventually fell off.
Do you still have a thumbnail?
Yeah, I do.
Doesn't count.
Okay.
Doesn't count.
So going back to the Paul Lynde Halloween special, Christopher Mother of the Boston Globe, in a retrospective review, described the special as the most fabulous train wreck of a holiday spectacular ever filmed. A vision of horror and phantasmagoric polyester-clad rhinestone-studded time capsule of bad jokes and disco melodies. Amazing. And in a 2009 review, Bootleg Files on Film Thread described the special as so bizarre and over the top in its acid camp that it's almost impossible to believe that anything of its kind could ever be shown on TV. The review praised Lynde as the queen from hell in the program's Saving Grace, while author Phil Hall expressed surprise that the special aimed at family audiences drew no complaints from Christian conservatives, despite Lynde's thinly veiled homosexuality and references to deep throat, among other innuendo. So,
as a kid, I had no clue who this guy was, other than he was on Hollywood Squares or he would be on the Match Game occasionally. That's it. That's all I knew him from.
There was one of the famous funny like clips of Hollywood Squares, and they go, "In what situations would you beat your meat?" And it's obviously designed to get an innuendo out of it, and they get to Paul Lynde buzzes in. Paul Lynde is all boredom, actually, in that kind of Paul Lynde voice, and people are cracking up, and that's what we had to watch as kids. Innuendo on the Newlywed Game and on Hollywood Squares Match Game.
Where's the weirdest place that you've ever made whoopee?
Yes, that kind of stuff.
What are the best pair of shoes you've ever had on to make whoopee? Every 70,000 questions on about making whoopee. That whole damn show.
So here's a list of Halloween specials. Number 1 was Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy and the Pumpkin Who Couldn't Smile. I don't remember that one specifically.
I remember
from
that one.
1979. Yeah. Scared Shrekless from 2010. Pac-Man had the Pac-Man cartoon had one called Pacula. I do remember the Fat Albert Halloween special.
Well, you know what they have? You know what they have outside of Fat Albert's pumpkin patch?
What?
Hey, Rudy.
You just last school in summertime.
You got no class. I got that.
Yes.
Mushmouth.
Yeah, I loved me some Fat Albert as a kid, and always had Bill Cosby in between the episodes giving you like advice or whatever, and they were always playing like junkyard instruments and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, they're supposed to be poor. This is the ghetto. I didn't get that until later.
And then they would, what was the other? Oh, and they would rush home to go watch the Green Hornet.
Yes. The Brown Hornet.
Oh, the Brown Hornet. Yes.
Yeah.
The only reason my wife was listening to, oh my God, they're the white rappers that did, House of Pain.
Yeah.
House of Pain. Listening to House of Pain, and he references, and then you'll buck, you're down. And she's like, you'll butt fucking you're down? I'm like, no, buck. It's like a game. It's like an East Coast thing. So how do you know this? Because of fucking Fat Albert. They played buck.
Yes. And we have the big Bill Cosby comedy album, and there's a whole thing about buck. And we used to listen to that Bill Cosby album over and over and over again. That was one of the funniest things ever. And it's kind of sad how his legacy's been trashed so bad because he was a freaking creep.
Because all he thought about was his pudding pop. That's all he thought with.
Pudding his dick where it didn't belong.
You should do cheat it yourself. I'll do it. I'll do it for you. Put his dick where it didn't go. Oh, son of a bitch. I thought mine was good. That was better.
You hear the thunder outside?
Honestly, I thought that was your ass. I thought you were going to try to cover
that was
that
thunder.
Up.
Crazy. Yeah.
I was going to congratulate you that you did have some Mexican food.
And not only there was our Halloween specials, but all your regular TV shows had Halloween episodes. Like Roseanne would have a Halloween episode. And of course, our classics like the freaking Little House on the Prairie had some scary ass episodes as a kid. And the Brady Bunch.
Monzo, I'm scared.
Yeah, there's just tons of Halloween stuff. And I feel like they do it a little bit now, but I just think that it seemed more prominent back in our age. The Garfield Halloween special. Of course, Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown every year. That's a tradition still.
You're going to gloss over the best thing from our childhood that showed up in almost every single network television Halloween special. Elvira.
Oh, yes, Elvira. Duh. Yes. Movie Macabre with Elvira.
Unpleasant Dreams.
Yes, that was just amazing. I think on Tubi, or it's either on Tubi or Pluto, you can go find old episodes of Movie Macabre and watch them. And then it's so much fun to kind of remember those as a kid, because the movies are always terrible.
Yeah.
But you didn't really watch them for the movie. You watched them for the breaks when Elvira would make fun of the movie.
Yeah.
And all her puns and stuff is just amazing. Some of the most fun stuff ever. It's really thundering over here. That's weird.
Yeah. Or are you covering up for something else?
So anyway, that is our Halloween episode, or Sleepy Hollow. We're going to come back next week and do Army of Darkness. Since we did Evil Dead 2, we got to do Army of Darkness to kind of put a cap on that. And Hail to the King, baby, on that one.
Hail to the King. Yeah, we got to go back and see where it started and that they couldn't get the rights for, and then had to try to redo everything.
Yeah. So if you have any suggestions for Turkey Month, I know we're going to do Mac and Me. Mac and Me is the only one that I know for sure that we're going to do. I have ideas for maybe Battlefield Earth, maybe Showgirls. How bad do we want to suffer is what I'm trying to say.
Look, we already went through some Giallo movies. Anything after that it's nothing. It's a breath of fresh air.
So if you want something for Turkey Month, something that is particularly bad, I know your lovely old wife Sammy wants us to do Mac and Me, so we will be doing Mac and Me
because she likes that movie. And when she asked, she's like,
"Kids of a certain age."
She was like, "I could come on, I could talk about it." I'm like, "Babe, we are going to shit all over that movie."
Yeah, so we're going to do that one.
But like you're saying, kids of a certain age, yes, it hits a little bit different. But I'm older than my wife, and no, it does not hit.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But I'll be looking through other stuff because I want to do some bad stuff, but I don't want to suffer too much. Battlefield Earth seems like a little too much to suffer through.
Let's get a little Scientologist propaganda going on.
Yeah. So, but if you want to send a suggestion, rvspodcast222@gmail.com, and you can get us on Threads, on Instagram, on Facebook. We appreciate everybody listening this month. I know that I will say that a lot of people didn't listen to the Beyond episode, and I wonder why. So I wonder people not really know who the Beyond is, or just don't like the Beyond. I don't know. Hurt my feelings though, because I love that movie.
I'm going to go with people didn't know and didn't like it. I think it's 50-50.
50-50? Yeah.
50-50. People are like, oh, they're going to Beyond. Fuck that movie.
So
not going to do it.
I heard your message loud and clear. Not so many Italian horror movies in a row. Maybe intersperse them a little bit, get a palate cleanser in between them.
Yeah. There weren't so many of your texts like, oh, dude, we got a really good download week this week. Didn't see many of those for that.
No, not for the Beyond, no. So, but thanks to everybody. I hope you have a good week.
Yeah, everybody have a good week. And if you do believe in any type of higher power, please, a good word for me so I will not have to spend over 9 weeks on a double murder trial. Thank you very much.
Yes, good luck on that one. Take care, everybody.
Have a good week.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.